Did okay. I'm sorry, I was muted. Hello, welcome everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? And can you see my screen? Welcome. All right, now I'm starting to get the yes. Yes. Hi, Jeanette. Great to have you back. Welcome to AMA LTL. My name is Maria Asuliman. I will be your presenter today. If you are new to the AMA Lunchtime Learning, that's what LTL stands for. It's a series of webinars that we do on a variety of management and leadership topics. Please post your city and state where you're joining us from today, as well as your organization or your agency or company. I know we have a large following from federally employed women. I also know we have a large following from Blacks in government, and we have a following from the Small Business of Maryland Small Business Development Centers, where we train a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs. So great to have everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I want to hear from you. Please let me know where you're joining us from today. We have a couple minutes before we get started. We have 4 minutes. So I do want to hear, hi, Renita, Wilmington, North Carolina, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Great to have you, Renita. Jeanette, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wow, what time is it there now in Albuquerque? Wow, great to have you. Great to have you here. We have a full house today. We have almost 100 people registered for this. Sandra is AMA LTL faithful. Always glad to have you all the way from Raleigh, North Carolina, USDA. And she's a member of FEW, Federally Employed Women. Great to have you, ladies. Yeah, so I was saying that we have a large group today. We have about almost 100 people registered for today's webinar. I am so excited about today's topic because, I mean, as women, we have to take our place at the top, but there are some things that we need to address first. Oh, Jeanette said you lost me. Can you hear me okay? It's showing on my screen that my volume is good. Can you guys hear me okay now? Okay, now we can. I'm sorry. I hope the internet is going to be stable today. It's been raining. We're in Atlanta, Maryland, and it's been raining heavily all day today. So I hope we don't have any connectivity issues. But if I continue to break out, I may turn off my video, but I do want to keep it on. So just let me know if the sound goes out. All right, we have BJ from Jacksonville, Florida, Army Corps of Engineers as well. Great to have you, BJ. Great to have you. Great to have you. All right, can we get some more people to say where they're joining us from and what agency or organization that you're with before we get started? I am so excited about today's topic. Really have great content to share with you all today. Right, let me see. Glad to hear so many Army Corps of Engineers women on board. Yes, yes, Jeanette, I'm glad about that as well. Army Corps of Engineers women on board. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm gonna put my bio up here because I don't want to spend any time in going through that. If you're new to the AMA-LTL, this is about, this is my background. I'll give you a chance to read through it. Just know that my passion is to develop leaders primarily in the federal workforce to hone in on their leadership philosophy and to thrive in their originality as leaders. I primarily coach emerging and mid-level leaders, even though I have done some senior leaders, but my focus is really on people just developing leadership competencies that they are comfortable in their own authentic style and philosophy as a leader, and then they operate from there and are and go out and do great things. So that is my background. I'm also the managing director of AMA Consulting. We are a federal contracting firm. I'll touch a little bit on some of the services that we offer right before we go into the content, but I did want to just put my bio up there so we don't waste any time going through that. We have a couple more people joining. Please let me know if you're new to the AMA LTL. Please let me know what city and state you're joining us from today, as well as what organization you are with. I am so glad to have you here today. And I'm so excited about the topic, women in leadership, taking your place at the top. We'll be getting started in about a minute, but I always like to come on early. It's 12 o'clock actually, and do introductions. So any more people want to just put in the questions box where you're joining from today, city and state, and your organization? Okay, while we're waiting for people to, get settled in. Oh, Christiana from Detroit, VA Medical Center social worker. Great to have you, Christiana. Great to have you. Thank you for joining us today. All right, and while we're getting other people coming in, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am so excited again about today's topic. I will touch on who we are as a company. We are a woman-owned, so it's my company. We're woman-owned. We're 8A certified, and we are on the GSA schedule. And we offer professional services in 3 primary areas: organizational development, because that's how we started, because that's my area of specialty. And there we focus on strategy, articulation, and people development, so training and coaching, leadership development programs. We have done a ton of training work and coaching work for civilian as well as DoD agencies, to include NASA, GSA, Department of Education, Food and Drug Administration, Office of Minority Health within HHS, and Navy and Defense Technical Information Center, as well as Defense Human Resources Activity. One agency that we have not done work with is the VA and also Army Corps of Engineers. So I know a lot of you are here today, so if you need any of our services, please feel free to reach out. Our second line of business is business transformation, and here we're really helping programs with making sure that your business operations are optimized. And so we do a ton of change management and process improvement work. We primarily support public health and education programs. The Department of Education is our largest customer. We support a variety of their programs. We have SMEs that have a specialty in K through 12 education, early childhood education, youth development, and on the public health side, we focus on minority health, mental health, as well as health equity programs. And a big part of what we do too is supporting grantees and supporting programs who give out grants. A lot of the organizations that we support are grant-making organizations. And so we do grant management and technical assistance for the grantees. And then last but not least, on the IT side, we specialize in accessibility. And I think that kind of ties into our whole theme of who we serve on the public. So we ensure that federal agencies' digital products, so their websites, intranet sites, SharePoint sites, mobile apps, are accessible for people with disabilities. And we also provide recommendations on assistive technology. And then in line with the work that we do to support business operations and programs within agencies, we do data collection and data management, where we are collecting data, we're making dashboards, we're doing analysis, and we're helping leaders to use that data to make business and program decisions and policy decisions, okay? So that's who we are as a company. If you want to reach out to us about one of our services, please feel free to do so. Now, having said that, I am ready to jump right in. I'm going to check the questions box real quick. Latonya, great to have you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad that you are here as well. Latonya Small is another AMA faithful. We have more people who just joined. We're about 32 people now on the webinar. So please feel free, if you are new, to share your city and state, as well as the organization that you're joining us from today. All right, so I'm going to go back to the content and dive right into it. All right, I went too fast. All right, so if you know me and you've joined any one of our webinars, you know I love to start with quotes. So this is a lady who's very dear to my heart, Diana, Princess Diana, and she says, "I don't go by the rule book. I lead from the heart, not the head." And we're talking about women in leadership today, and how we take our place at the top. And I just selected some quotes that speak to me, and I hope they speak to you as well, in how leaders, we are different from men, and we need to own that. And I love this quote so much when she says, "I lead from the heart." And because a lot of times we are taught to feel like, leading or working from your heart is inferior or is weak, as opposed to, being more cerebral. But I just really love this. I don't go by the rule book. Like, why would you go by the rule book? The rules were not created for us. And I'm going to share more about that. And that's another reason why I really love this quote, is that she says, I don't go by the rule book. Rest her soul. That's somebody that I really, really love and admire. Michelle Obama, another one of my mentors, even though she doesn't know it. I've never met her, but I really love her. The way she carried herself as a first lady and all the initiatives that she's been doing for women and girls around the world, and as a woman leader herself. Just she exudes confidence, and she says success isn't about how much money you make. It is about the difference you make in people's lives. And I think as women leaders, we need to be careful about this mantra that sometimes goes on about being a boss lady, securing the bag. And we hear these mantras, and we start to think that leadership or success or getting to the top is about money. It's about how much money, or how much money you're making, but it's not really about that. It's about making a difference. It's about making a difference. Joanne Ciulla, who is a philosopher, a thought leader on business leadership ethics, says that leadership is not about a person, it's not about a position. It is a complex moral relationship between people based on trust, obligation, commitment, emotion, and a shared vision of the good. A shared vision of the good. I love this so much because a lot of us as women, we saw pictures of great leaders as these macho men, and so we equated leadership to a person or a title, and that's not what leadership is. Leadership is a moral relationship, a social influence between people, both the leader and the follower, that's based on trust, obligation, commitment, and there's a word there, emotion. We're going to come back to that word because that is something that we're going to really tackle on how to identify and use to our own benefit as women leaders. Last but not least, Dolly Parton, somebody I love so much. I love her music. And she says, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more, then you're an excellent leader. That is the measure of success of leadership. And this is what I live by. And I always tell people, one of the ways that I rate leaders, if I look at the people around you and there's no duplication, meaning that the people around you are not doing more, they're not improving, they're not growing, they themselves are not doing great things, and you, the leader, you're the only one that's doing great things, then there's something missing. That means that you're not developing the people around you. All right, now we're going to start, and I just want to pre-warn you that today's content is going to be very direct and very raw. So this is not going to be your cookie cutter information about leadership and women in leadership and what we need to do, how we need to take our place, how we need to sit at the head of the table or bring our own seat. No, this is going to be, I'm going to give you some historical information, because what I want us to be able to do is to understand the game. Essentially, there is a game that's going on right in the world. There are systems, there are institutions that have been set up prior to all of us showing up here on this world in this time and in this season. However, those systems were not created to let us be on the top, if I'm saying that correctly. Those systems were intentionally created to hold us back as women. What am I talking about here? There are four major systems that hold the whole world, right? Political systems, number one. So why are political systems important? Because political systems are the systems that create the laws that we all have to abide by. Political systems are the systems that create the laws that we all have to abide by. Religious systems, most people have a religion. And so these systems, religious systems, are a big part of what shape our belief. And when I say our, I'm talking about the entire world, both men and women. So these religious systems are set up in specific ways to keep women back. They were set up from history. I'm talking about from the 1700s, from way before when we ever started counting time. These systems have been in place to hold women back. It's critical that we understand this, because I think when we don't understand the context or we don't understand the game, we don't even know like what is going on, right? We don't know what's going on, and then we are not properly equipped to do what we need to do to take our place at the top. I think it's really important. So I want you to indulge me here and just allow me share some context and content and some history with you so that we begin to understand where we are. Because I think we have this misnomer that because we're in 2021, you know, women are doing great things. And so, but there is a system that is in place that it's not set up for us to be at the top. And so in order for you to be at the top, you have to dispossess that system. You have to challenge that system. And you need to be aware of that. And there's a way to go about doing it and doing it successfully. And so if you see women who have stood out, who have, you know, broken barriers and that proverbial glass ceiling, that's because they've had to go up against the system. They've had to go up against these systems that are in place. Okay, the fourth one is cultural and social systems. Cultural, we all come from somewhere. So whether you're Caucasian, whether you're African American, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Asian, whether you're Native American, we all have cultural and social values, norms, practices that have been infused to us from when we were born, that has shaped our psychology. And when I say our, I'm talking about all of us, both male and female. And then last but not least, most importantly, is the psychological system. So the political, the religious, the cultural, and social, they all feed in to a psychological system that has been put in place to hold women back. So now let us go into these systems one after the other. You can tell I'm really excited about this. So I'm gonna try to calm down and slow down so I can really give you the content. Okay. What do these systems do? What are these systems and what do they do specifically, and how have they historically held women back? How have they historically held women back? So let's start from the political system. So the first way the political system has held women back is just basically not letting us in the door, underrepresentation. So according to the Rutgers Eagleton Institute of Politics, even in 2020, only 25% of people in politics are women. Only 25% of people in politics are women. Now, why is that important? Because the political system, so when we talk about political system, we're talking about from the federal level, president, vice president, we're talking about the Senate, we're talking about the House of Representatives, then you go to the local level, you're talking about governors, lieutenant governors, then we're talking about state and the state legislation. Then when you go to the city level, you're talking about mayors, you're talking about county, what are they called? The county, the people who are in charge of the county is escaping me right now. So when we talk about these political systems throughout the entire US political system, only 25% is being occupied by women. And understand that certain regions of the country, there's even no female representation in the state legislation, the local government, in local government, as well as, so that 25% is an average. So some states and some regions have more representation, but that's the max. So if you think about it, generally speaking, the population of men to women is about 55 to 45, 55 women, 45. They're generally more women than men. So when you take that into account, the representation is actually less. It's actually less than 25% because there are more women than men. So 50-50 wouldn't even mean that it's equal. 55-45 would mean that it's equal. So I was reading in preparing for this, I was looking at some stats from the UN, and they said something about it would take about 160 years if like active gender equality policies are put in place. It will take about 160 years for us to achieve equity, gender equity in the political system. So why is that important? It is important because the political system creates laws. Okay, what are some of the laws that have been created to hold women back? So number one, obviously, women were not allowed to vote, so we couldn't select our leaders. Employment laws were in place to hold us back. Obviously, reproductive rights laws were in place to hold, to take away our, our rights. But the one thing I just wanted to say here is our history and the systems is set up for us to not be allowed in the door, much less go to the top. It's set up for us not to lead. okay? The political system, the laws, the rules, okay? The laws that we all have to abide by. It is set up for us not to even be in the room, much less be at the top and lead, okay? And there's so much data around women in leadership. I'm happy, if you're interested, I'm happy to share that with you, but that is the political context. Then we go to the religious context. And so this is not about any religion, and all major religions, there is a theme, there is a reoccurring theme with all major religions, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Muslim, Muslim, whether it's Buddhism. They're all escaping me now, but I will speak for the main two religions, Christianity and Muslim, the Muslim religion. There is imbibed in the doctrine, there is a patriarchal religion imagery, as well as imbibed in the doctrine, the woman is described as a lower nature. It is imbibed in the doctrine. So for example, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic. And so you will hear a lot of people who pervert the Christianity religion talk about a woman is to be subject to her husband, and scriptures from the Bible being used to suggest and to create the narrative that a woman is weaker and therefore is of a lower nature. Okay, so now you're saying, what does this have to do with me today? You know, I work at the Army Corps of Engineers, or I'm at USDA. I'm talking about what has shaped our psychology and our mental state, as well as the people that you work with. The people that you work with, your colleagues, your supervisor, your leadership, they all have been shaped by this same system, okay? So 9 times out of 10, unless they have gone through some change and more exposure and more learning, they are going to be stuck in this way of reasoning. They're going to be stuck in this psychological state. This is something that is so ingrained in our psychology, in our way of being. And I think we don't address it enough. We go through, you know, the peripheries, and we don't understand why it's so difficult for things to change. I was watching the news yesterday, and there was a story on CNN about female sports, and how there's disparity, not only in pay, but in their locker rooms, in the resources that they have. Their coaches are paid less. You know, they don't have enough facilities as the men sports. So these things are things that are inherent in the institution and in the system, and it shows up in different ways. And I think there's a tendency to attack different things like pay equality, which is fine, or gender equality, or Roe v. Wade. All those things are just symptoms of an underlying system that has been structured to keep women back. So I talked about religious, okay? And then we go to cultural and social. I'm originally from West Africa, and I know this like I know my name. Every single culture, if you talk about Italian, if you talk about Irish, if you talk about West African, East African, if you talk about Asian, there is a cultural and social cultural and social norms about what women should be, okay? Number one, and this is also something that was in the law, believe it or not. In 1798, there was an English common law that basically put the woman's legal existence under her husband. That means her legal existence she can only make choices and have any legal rights under her husband. So this is the reason why marriage was such a crucial thing to women back then, because they had no rights if they were not under a man. Okay, so this is across all culture and all races. Okay, cultural and social norms have been established from generations that keep women in the back. What are some of the cultural norms? Like, your rights and your worth and your value is only tied to a man being in front of you, or like showcasing you. Okay, so if you don't have a man showcasing you, then your worth is less than. Okay, another value is that you don't have a right to think. Your intellect, your power, your resources are less than. Okay, because you're emotional. And so because you're emotional, you're not stable, and so we can't trust you with hard decisions. These are some of the norms that show up. And then also, it is important, this is another social norm and cultural norm, it is important that a woman is held back to maintain the stability of a family. Because if we let women and give them rights, then our families, there's not going to be anybody a home to cook and take care of the kids, and our families will be broken. And you also hear this narrative in the 21st century where a lot of people equate the rates of divorces or broken homes to the fact that women have more rights. Okay, so now you guys, you said you wanted more rights, and now you don't want to do your duty at home. So these are the cultural and social norms that have shaped the reasoning of the people that we work with every day, shape the reason of the people who are decision makers in whether you move forward in your career or not, shape the people that decide on whether to hire you for a leadership position or not. These are the things that have shaped you yourself, the woman leader that has developed a lot of self-doubt in that is very prevalent in women, and we don't understand where it came from or what it is. But these turn to psychological strongholds, and this is where I'm going to land. These turn to psychological strongholds where, again, we have stereotypes about what a good woman should be like, and as for some of us African American women, we are judged by the fact that maybe we have strong personalities or our voices are naturally louder or bolder, and so we are seen as angry. And so these things didn't just fall from the sky, okay? These are things that have trickled down from generations due to these systems, okay? And now we are here and we're saying, there is awareness, we have gone through the suffrage movement, we've gone through women's rights, we have a woman vice president, and we're saying we can lead. We have a few women who are head of states in some countries, and we can take our place at the top. But how? How? Where do we start from? How do we start to do that? With all of these things that's sitting on our back, how do we start to take our place at the top? I think it is critical for us to understand this, because if we don't understand this, we're not going to understand the how. I'm giving you this history. I'm setting up this context. Point number one, if you're taking notes, write this down. You're not alone, okay? It's not just targeted at you. If you're facing gender bias, if you feel like you're not where you need to be in your career because you're a woman, if you feel like you've been discriminated against, if you feel like you're not on the level playing field because you're a woman, you're not crazy. It is true. This is the history. This is the world that we live in. Okay, so this is the truth. So it is true, right? But it's not you. It's not you, the individual. So stop trying to get to the top by pulling yourself to do more. It's not necessarily about you doing more. You are already enough. You already have everything that you need within you to be at the top. You already have purpose in you. It is the system that has the issue. It's not you. I just want to say that because as women, we have oftentimes turned inwards against ourselves, and through self-doubt, through not being supportive of each other as women enough, because of this system, and we're not clear. We don't have the clarity as to what is going on with our psychological state. So I just want to say that number one is not personal. It's not you. So stop beating yourself up. Stop trying to do extra and stop grinding and grinding. That's not the way to get to the top. Okay, so that's number one. I want you to know that number one, it's not you. The other reason I'm setting this up is to let you know that it is okay and is in your right to have the desire to want to get to the top. Sometimes even as women, we are discredited for having the desire of wanting to go after that branch chief position, of wanting to be a team lead, of speaking up, of articulating our point of view. We are seen and we are discredited as a troublemaker, as not a team player when we articulate what you want. I want to also let you know that, again, it's not you. It is the system that has set up that narrative. It is perfectly okay for you to have a desire for your career. It's perfectly okay for you to want that job just as the next person does. It is perfectly okay for you to want to lead that project. It is perfectly okay for you to raise your hand. If you feel like you have the capability and ability to do something in your office, it is perfectly okay for you to speak up and say, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll step up. I will take my place. It is not your fault that these systems were in place to hold us back. Okay, so stop discrediting yourself and stop trying to negate yourself to make other people feel comfortable. It is well within your rights for you to go after what you want, including getting your seat at the top. Now, having said that, how do you do that? So those two things I just want to let you know. Number one, it's not your fault, it's the system, and it's not, stop beating yourself up. Number two, it is perfectly okay for you to have a desire for growth and for leadership as a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. It is the system that has been lying to us, and we're not going to keep beating ourselves up and having guilt and self-condemnation for wanting something more, or for wanting to lead, or for wanting to be at the top. Okay? Now, how do we overcome this barrier? The first thing is that you need to be clear. You need to be clear about what you want. It's amazing a lot of times when I coach leaders, especially women leaders, when I ask them, what do you want in this role? They can articulate everything that is expected of them. They can articulate the job description. They can articulate their role and how they're going to do it. But when I go to what do you want as a leader? Because that's why you're there. You were hired in that position to bring your unique perspective, so your unique skills, your unique experience. So be clear on that. What is your leadership style and what is your purpose? What do you want? Spend some time. And if you're a member of this community and you've been with us for a while, we've been doing this webinars for 4 years now, you will realize that I'm very big on self-awareness and I'm very big on leading yourself. And one of the things I talk about a lot is self-reflection. What do you want as a leader? What is your leadership style? How should people engage with you? What are your boundaries? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? You need to be clear on that. And again, understand that if you're not clear on it, it's okay, because again, the system has trained you, for lack of a better word, to not be clear on it. So everyone else can tell you what it is that you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. That is what the system is trained for, really. It's for you not to have an opinion. It's for you not to have clarity. But one of the ways that you fight the system is being clear on your leadership style and your purpose. So I'll give you an example. I am clear that I'm called to develop leaders. And it took me a long time to get to this point because there was always a discounting voice. Like, why would you think that you're called to develop leaders? Well, what have you led? Like, okay, you have a small company, like you basically have a staff of less than 10. It's not like you've led a Fortune 500 company. You haven't held any major office. You know, you're originally from West Africa. You're an immigrant. You're a Black. You're this. You're that. You're a woman. You know, why should that be something that's your purpose? And so it took me a while to be clear on that. But then I started to look at my career history. I started to look at the places I've excelled. I started to look at what people commend me for. I started to look at what people recommend me for. I started to look at what opened doors for me in business. And it's exactly that. And so I had to be clear on it and I had to own it. And it was work to get there because the system was not created for me to get there. The system was not. The system was just created for me to be like a dummy in a role and do what everybody else is doing, or what society, whether it's the political system, religious system, social, my culture or my social norms, tell me to do. Okay, so that clarity is very important. Secondly, how you overcome the barriers is building mental strength, because I said something in the beginning of the slide. In order for you to possess your place at the top, you have to dispossess people who feel like it is their right to have and not yours. I need you to get this. Like, this is going to be big. This is the reason why people give up. This is the reason why people burn out. The people who are in those positions, they're not going to give it up willingly. They're not going to look at your strengths, your qualifications, your education, and judge you on that. There is a system that is designed for a certain type of person, and preferably the male gender, to lead. So you need to build your mental strength to go up against the system. What does that look like? Self-care, your physical, mental, and emotional health. You need to make sure that you're in good shape physically. You're doing your physicals, your medical checkups. If you have any health issues, make sure you stay on top of that. Your mental health, make sure that you're doing everything, like you have a support system, you have a team of people around you, family, friends, sisterhood that you can go to when things get rough, that you can ask for advice. What does also mental strength look like? It's also taking care of yourself, taking time to rest, doing things that you like, having hobbies, doing things outside work, and being a whole person, enjoying yourself, doing things for fun, enjoying yourself. Okay, so you need to build your mental strength, because you can't go up against the system broken. You can't go up against the system sick. You can't go up against the system tired. I mean, because you're going to face opposition, and you need to have that mental dexterity to be able to withstand the opposite. Just think about the great women. One of the women that I really, really admire is Nancy Pelosi. And the reason I admire her, I'm a social conservative. If you don't believe it, I'm Catholic. So I'm not really political, but one of the reasons I admire her is the ability for her to get people behind her, regardless of what administration she's serving in. And she's done it so much. This woman is in her 80s. She's still as strong and tough as nail. That is the mental strength. That's what I'm talking about. You can't go up against the system weak, okay, mentally. All right. Third, play to your skills and your strengths, okay? And that's also tied to number 4. Play to your skills and your strengths. Once you gain clarity on your leadership style and you gain clarity on your purpose, then the way you get there is by looking at what you're very good at. Again, what do people commend you for? What do people praise you for? What do you enjoy doing? What do you do with so much ease that is a struggle to other people? Those are your strengths and your skills. Play to that. Don't shy away from it. Don't hide. Don't not talk about it. Talk about it. Be comfortable in it. Sit in it. Sit in it. You have to sit in it in order for you to displace other people. If you don't sit in it, if you don't play to it, if you don't use it, then you can't get to your place at the top. And also, number 3, this point also ties into invest in yourself. Invest in your skills and your strength. And you're doing that today by being on this webinar. Invest in that. Create a culture for yourself of learning. Read biographies of women who have broken these barriers, the glass ceiling, who have pushed their way in certain industries, whether it's engineering, whether it's within the military, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in technology. Learn their stories, whether it's in politics, whatever it is, learn their stories. Continue to develop your skills and your strengths and play to them. Last but not least, use your superpower. This is something that we have as women. As a woman, you always know. Write that down. You always know. The thing is that the system has taught us to doubt our intuition, to discount it, because they say it's emotion, and you can't lead with emotion. You can't lead from your heart. But that is actually our superpower. And what's your intuition is essentially information coming out of your subconscious, because we as women, we are wired to attract things. So we see things, we gather information. We can gather information about multiple things at the same time. And so all of that is trapped in our subconscious, and our intuition is our subconscious trying to give you signals about things that are trapped in your subconscious. And because we've been so ruled by fear, again, by this system that's been created down from ages to keep us in the back burner, we don't lean into it. We don't lean into it. Instead, we're trying to be like men. We're trying to grind. We're trying to, be like men in order to take the place at the top. No, use your intuition. And how does that show up? It shows up in your language. It shows up in how you speak. It shows up in your decision making. It shows up in how you interact with people. It shows up in how you connect to people and how you get people to be on board with your vision. It shows up in your ability to create with your mind. If you're not using your superpower, you can't create. And if you can't create in your mind, you have nothing to offer. And sometimes people may not want to open the door for you because you're a woman, But when you have something that they need, they have no choice. And your intuition, that's where it is. It is hidden in your subconscious, and your intuition is giving you signals about it. All right, I'm going to stop here. This is all the content I have today. This was helpful. I do want to stay on for feedback. I do want to stay on for anything that comes up for you, what you think about the what you think about the content so far. All right, so now we have the chat is on fire. Okay, so let me start. Let me see. Okay, so Jeanette say, let your passion shine. That's right, let your passion shine. I love that. I'm gonna write that down. Let your passion shine. I love that so much. So then I'm getting, Marie, I'm not saying that a woman needs to stay home, but if you look at today's society, two parents working or single parent homes, I do agree that someone needs to be willing to take on a home nurturing. How do we get to a point to cultivate healthy minded children? Jeanette, you make a very good point. Yes, I agree with you, but I agree with you that somebody needs to stay home, or both parents actually have the responsibility of raising the children. Point number one. Again, the society has trained us to believe that it is our role, solely our responsibility to train the children. That's not true. Both the father and the mother is responsible for raising the kids. That's number one. Number two, we need to trust women enough so know that they have the ability to nurture at home and lead at the same time. Okay. When I left the government 10 years ago to start my company, the reason I left the government was because I wanted to have autonomy in my profession and career so that I could raise my kids. At that time, I had 2 kids. Now I have 4. And so it is a balancing act, right? To raise my kids. I love my home. I love my family. I'm a caretaker. I'm a nurturer. I love cooking. I love, having a family. But I also have intellect and ability to manage my time. I know when I'm in the role of a mom or wife, and I know when I'm in the role of managing director of AMA. Society should not dictate to me how I balance that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And then some women too can say at a certain point in their career, I want to step back from the workforce and be at home. That is her choice. And if she does that, she shouldn't be negated for that. And should she decide to come back to the workforce, that's her choice. Again, it's about us, society not dictating to us what we can and can't do and say, well, just because I don't want to be at home full time and be a stay-at-home mom, I'm not a good woman. Okay, so that's the context. As a matter of fact, one of the employees that I hired for one of our very first contracts, the reason I hired her was because she took time off work. She had a gap in her resume for 4 years, and she didn't lie and say, oh, I was doing. She said, I took off time to stay home with my kids, and now I'm ready to go back to the workforce. And so even though there was a gap in her resume, I hired her. And I tell you, she's one of the most dedicated workers that we have. That's what I'm talking about, is that we women we have sense enough to know how to manage our families and our career. And if we want to lead, we don't need somebody discrediting us when we choose to do either or both. Okay. So that's my point about that, Jeanette. Latonya says, you are awesome. This is so great, particularly as we celebrate Women's Month. And I love gain clarity on who you are. Yeah, that is a process. I mean, it's a process. Yes, thank you so much for that feedback. Or my intuition is terrible. Jeanette, I would not agree with that. I won't say that your intuition is terrible. I would say that maybe what has been fed into your subconscious, okay? Because remember, your intuition is only telling you what is in your subconscious. But if you have been in a terrible environment and all that has been fed into your subconscious is terrible, then yeah, your intuition, but there's also, before those negative things, there's also something under that is good, that is whole, that you need to tap into. So I would challenge that. I would challenge that. Nana, my friend, Nana is here. Nana says you have shared a word today. Thank you, Nana. So glad that you're on here. The truth is that when speaking up and going against the system, you could face repercussions. Yes, that's why you need to possess the mental strength, because you will. you will face repercussions. You will face opposition. So taking your space, the reason I said that is that taking your place at the top is not a fairy tale, okay? Women leadership is hard. It's not easy. It's not a cruise control life. It's challenging, and that's you need to build that strength. Thank you so much for bringing that point, Nina. Thank you. Jeanette says excellent answers. Jeanette also says, are there courses on recognizing intuition development? Yeah, that would be on one-on-one coaching because that's unique to you, Jeanette. I would recommend one-on-one coaching for that. If you want to talk about that, feel free to reach out to me. Nena says, you know, I admire you so, and I'm proud of you. Thank you, Nena. Nena is my friend, ladies, and she is with Nena. Where's she's with FEMA, and she's here in the DMV area. She is an IT project lead, project manager at FEMA. So glad to have you here. It's always great when you have your part of your sisterhood in the audience. It hits different. All right, so ladies, questions, comments. We are past time. I try to keep to 12:30 because I know FDA. That's right. Nena is with FDA, and she's an IT project manager at FDA. Any questions, comments, anything else that you want to share? Questions, comments. So ladies, you know, we have work to do. I hope this was helpful. Take one of the tips that I've given you today and see how you can implement it. Jeanette said, I love this lesson. So glad to have you here, Jeanette. Really, really great. All right, really quickly, we have some other upcoming webinars. Latonya, absolutely. Have some webinars coming up. Have some other webinars coming up really quickly. Etiquettes of remote work, April 7th. So we're all thrown into this 100% virtual and remote work. And then, you know, what are the etiquettes? You know, it's beyond just knowing how to use Zoom. If you're leading a remote team, you need some tips on how to connect with your team remotely. So we're going to be talking about that next time. April 21st, we're going to be talking about challenging gender bias. I'm going to delve a little deeper into challenging the system. When you actually have to challenge the system in a specific manner, how do you do that? Okay, and then May 5th is increasing your political savvy. Again, this is all things that nobody ever teaches you in school. You're not going to get this in an MBA school, but they're all things that you need to be successful as a manager and a leader. All right, ladies, and by any chance, is there a gentleman in the audience today? I just have a strong feeling that there is a man in the audience who did not speak up, and he said, you know, I'm just going to listen to what they have to say. The webinars are free, Renita. All of the webinars are free. Lisa says, absolutely outstanding content, training, and presentation. Wow, thank you, Lisa. Erica, maybe we need to start getting testimonials, you know, so I'm just so focused on giving the content. I love this. I'm passionate about developing leaders, and I don't think I do enough job about marketing and putting what we're doing out there. Yeah, the webinars are free. We have them twice a month on a variety of topics. And so one of the things we will be doing is reaching out to members of our LTL community to give us testimonials so we can get more people to take advantage of it. You know, this is something I love to do. I don't charge, I do it for free. But I also want you to know about my business and know about what I do. So if you want to invite us to provide services to your agency, you will have the information to do so. All right. Okay, Erica is going to post our LinkedIn so that you can provide your testimonials on LinkedIn. And also, she's going to post an article about psychological barriers that have been created to hold women down. It's an article, and this is a global article, just for you to study in your time so that you understand the context of what we're dealing with here as women. Okay, so Erica is going to post that to all of the audience, and I think she will also send it in an email that goes out to everybody. And again, like I said, we welcome your testimonials. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Stephanie, you're welcome. Ingrid, love the presentation. Such an important subject, more now than ever. Thank you for that feedback. Nana, love you, girl. Thank you. Latonya, have a great week. Renita, thank you. Thank you for the feedback, ladies. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. You guys be safe. Everybody be safe. Camille, you're welcome. Thank you. Lisa. Hi, I love it. Lisa says, I'm feeling my Wonder Woman now. Yes. Yes, that was the goal. Great, 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 great. All right, ladies, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.